The council chamber floated in the darkness of space, like a jewel among the stars. Inside the massive station that orbited twin suns, representatives from 1,000 different worlds gathered to discuss the future of the galaxy. The chamber itself was a marvel of engineering, with platforms that hung suspended in the air for each species delegation. Some platforms held creatures that looked like crystals, others held beings made of pure energy, and some held species that breathed methane instead of oxygen. At the very back of the chamber, almost hidden from view, sat the human delegation on a small platform that barely fit 2 people. Commander Jake Morrison stood tall in his dark blue uniform. His short brown hair was styled neatly, and his green eyes watched the proceedings with careful attention. Next to him stood Ambassador Lisa Hayes, a woman in her late 40s with gray streaks in her black hair. She wore a simple gray suit and held a datapad in her hands. Both of them knew what was coming. They had traveled 3 months to reach this place, crossing half the galaxy in their small diplomatic ship. The journey had been long and uncomfortable, but they had a mission to complete. For 3 years, Earth had been a probationary member of the Galactic Council. The Council had discovered humanity quite by accident when one of their survey ships picked up radio signals coming from Earth. That had been 6 years ago. Since then, Earth had been watched, studied, and judged. The Council had sent observers to study human culture, technology, and society. Those observers had filed reports that painted humanity as a primitive species, barely capable of space travel. The observers had seen Earth's small fleet of ships and had laughed at what humans called advanced technology. Now it was time for the formal vote. Would humanity be granted full membership in the Council? Or would they remain on probation for another decade? Jake had read the reports. He knew the answer before the question was even asked. High Arbiter Zekthor rose from his platform. The being was made of living crystal that caught the light and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the chamber. His voice echoed through the space without need for speakers or technology. It simply existed in the minds of all who listened. The petition from Earth for full membership status has been reviewed by all Council members. We have examined your technology, your culture, and your military capabilities. The decision of this Council is final and binding. Jake felt Lisa tense beside him. They both knew what was coming, but hearing it would still sting. The petition is denied. Zekthor's words hung in the air like a death sentence. Your species lacks the necessary technological development to warrant full membership. Your military fleet consists of ships that would be classified as personal transport vessels by Council standards. You have no capital ships, no defensive networks, and no technology that would benefit the greater galactic community. Furthermore, your species has shown a disturbing tendency toward violence and conflict. Until such time as humanity develops beyond its current primitive state, you will remain on probationary status. A sound rippled through the chamber. It took Jake a moment to realize that many of the alien species were laughing. The Kryn delegation, led by a massive insect creature named Vral, made clicking sounds with his mandibles that Jake had learned meant amusement. The Vryn Collective, a group of cybernetic beings, flashed their optical displays in patterns that indicated mockery. Lisa stepped forward to the edge of their platform. With all due respect, High Arbiter, perhaps the Council has not looked closely enough at what humanity has to offer. More laughter filled the chamber. Vral's voice boomed across the space, translated by technology into words Jake could understand. Not looked closely enough? We have surveyed every inch of your planet. We have cataloged every ship in your fleet. Your largest vessel is barely 300 meters long. The personal yacht of the Vryn ambassador is larger than your most powerful warship. What could we possibly have missed? Jake's hand moved to the communications device hidden in his jacket pocket. His fingers traced the outline of the small device. Inside his chest, his heart was beating faster. Everything had led to this moment. 3 years of being dismissed and mocked. 3 years of being treated like children who had stumbled into an adult conversation. 3 years of watching and learning and planning. He pulled out the device and pressed a button. A single word appeared on the tiny screen. a message that had traveled from Earth across light years of space. The word was simple and clear. Ready. Jake looked at Lisa and gave her a small nod. She returned the gesture, and he saw something in her eyes that had not been there before. It was satisfaction, mixed with anticipation. "If the council will permit," Lisa said, her voice cutting through the laughter like a blade, "we would like to present a demonstration of Earth's true defensive capabilities." The laughter died down but did not stop completely. Zekthor's crystalline form shifted colors from blue to a dark purple that Jake had learned meant annoyance. "Very well, Ambassador Hayes. Show us this demonstration. Though I suspect it will change nothing. The Council has made its decision." Jake raised the communications device to his mouth. "Admiral Nash, you are cleared for emergence. Transmitting coordinates now. Far across the galaxy, at the very edge of the Meridian system where the Council station orbited, something began to happen. For months, the Council's sensors had detected what they thought was a natural gravitational anomaly. Their scientists had studied it and concluded it was nothing more than an interesting stellar phenomenon. They had been wrong. The anomaly began to collapse in on itself. Energy readings spiked across every sensor in the system. Alarms began to sound on military vessels. Scientists scrambled to understand what was happening. The distortion in space grew larger and more intense, until it seemed reality itself was tearing apart. Then it appeared. The ship that emerged from the fold in space was beyond anything the Galactic Council had ever seen from humanity. It was a monster of metal and technology. Stretching 8 kilometers from front to back, its hull was dark gray, almost black, and covered in armor plating that reflected no light. Along its sides, hundreds of bay doors stood closed but ready. Weapon systems bristled from every surface like the spines of some ancient beast. The energy signature coming from the vessel made every sensor in the system scream warnings. In the council chamber, every screen and display suddenly switched to show the approaching vessel. The laughter stopped. The mockery died. Silence fell across the chamber like a heavy blanket. Species that had been joking moments before now stared in disbelief at the massive ship that hung in space like a promise of violence. Jake Morrison allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had been speaking softly for 3 years. Now, it was time to show the big stick they had been carrying all along. Admiral Gregory Nash stood on the bridge of the UES Titan and watched as his ship emerged into normal space. Around him, dozens of crew members worked at their stations with practiced efficiency. The bridge was a circular room with screens covering every wall. In the center was a raised platform where Greg stood, able to see everything happening at once. To his right, Captain Ellen Rivers managed the coordination of all ship systems. To his left, the tactical officer, Lieutenant Ben Cooper, monitored potential threats. Behind him, the communication station buzzed with activity as messages poured in from every direction. The view screen showed Meridian Prime growing larger as they approached. The council station glittered like a diamond against the backdrop of twin suns. Greg had seen images of the station before, but seeing it in person was different. It was beautiful in a way that human architecture could never match. But beauty meant nothing if it could not be defended. "All systems nominal, Admiral," Captain Rivers reported without looking up from her console. "The fold drive performed perfectly. We are exactly where we need to be. Power plants are running at 70% capacity. All weapon systems are online and ready. Fighter bays are prepared for launch on your command." Greg nodded slowly. He was a tall man, in his 60s, with silver hair and a face lined with years of military service. He had served in Earth's Navy for 40 years, working his way up from a junior officer to admiral. For the last 15 years, his life had been dedicated to one purpose: building this ship, training its crew, preparing for this exact moment. "Open a channel to the council station," he ordered. "Let them get a good look at what humanity has built." In the council chamber, every species representative stared at the screens in stunned silence. The Titan filled every display, its massive bulk dwarfing even the largest ships in the Council's combined fleets. The sensor data streaming in told a story that nobody wanted to believe. The vessel's power signature was off the charts. Its armor was composed of materials that scanners could barely identify. The number of weapon systems detected was in the thousands. Impossible, Vral whispered, his earlier arrogance completely gone. The energy readings coming from that ship are beyond anything we have ever encountered. That reactor should not be possible. The power output alone would require technology that does not exist. High Arbiter Zekthor's crystalline form flickered through several colors rapidly. Something Jake had learned meant confusion or distress. How did you build such a vessel without our knowledge? Our survey teams have been watching Earth for 6 years. Our sensors have mapped every facility on your planet. We would have detected construction of something this size. Lisa Hayes stepped forward with confidence she had not shown before. You found exactly what we wanted you to find. High Arbiter, did you really believe that a species which went from first flight to landing on their moon in just 66 years would simply stop innovating? Did you think we would show you everything we were capable of while you decided if we were worthy? Jake added his voice to hers. Humanity has learned many lessons from our history. One of the most important is this. Never reveal your full strength to a potential enemy until you have no other choice. For 3 years, we have listened to your dismissals. We have endured your mockery. We have accepted your judgment, all while we prepared for this moment. The Vryn Collective representative Nexus 7 spoke up, his mechanical voice processing the information at high speed. The mathematical models required for a vessel of this size are incredibly complex. The engineering challenges would be immense. How did you overcome the structural integrity problems? How did you solve the power distribution issues? Our own scientists have been working on similar designs for centuries. We solved them by thinking differently, Jake replied. Your species builds on technology you have inherited from older civilizations. You follow patterns established millions of years ago. Humanity had no such inheritance. We had to figure everything out from scratch. That gave us freedom to try new approaches. On the Titan's bridge, Admiral Nash listened to the conversation through the open communication channel. He smiled slightly as he heard the confusion and shock in the alien voices. This was exactly the reaction they had hoped for. Not fear, not hostility, but respect, born from surprise. Captain Rivers, prepare a full technical briefing for the Council, Greg ordered. Show them what the Titan can do. Not everything, but enough to make our point clear. Ellen Rivers was a woman in her early 40s with red hair tied back in a tight bun. She had been with the Titan project since its beginning, one of the first officers selected for the crew. Her fingers moved across her console, pulling up files and data that had been prepared months ago. Attention Galactic Council. Ellen's voice transmitted clearly to the station. I am Captain Ellen Rivers of the United Earth ship Titan. What you are seeing is humanity's first deep space supercarrier. The vessel is 8.2 kilometers in length. It carries a crew of 12,000 personnel. The Titan is powered by a hybrid fusion quantum reactor of human design. Our weapons systems include plasma accelerators, kinetic railguns, and directed energy weapons. Our defensive capabilities include adaptive shielding, point defense networks, and electronic warfare suites. The data began flooding into the Council's computers. Specifications, design schematics, performance data. Not everything, but enough to prove that humanity was not bluffing. The Titan was real, and it was powerful. Lieutenant Ben Cooper called out from his station. Admiral, I am picking up movement from several Council military vessels. They are repositioning, but not in attack formations. I think they are trying to get better sensor readings on us. Let them look, Greg replied calmly. We have nothing to hide anymore. In the Council chamber, chaos was beginning to break out. Representatives from different species were arguing with each other. Some demanded to know why humanity had been allowed to build such a vessel in secret. Others wanted to know if Earth had more ships like this. A few species were already calculating how this changed the balance of power in the galaxy. Zekthor raised his hands and the chamber fell silent. The control he exerted over the Council was absolute. Humanity has clearly demonstrated capabilities we were not aware of. This changes the nature of our discussion. However, I must ask Commander Morrison and Ambassador Hayes a direct question. Is this vessel a threat to the Galactic Council? Jake met the alien's gaze without flinching. The Titan is a defensive vessel, High Arbiter. It was built to protect Earth and her allies from any threat that might arise. We did not build it to attack the Council. We built it to ensure that we would never be helpless if someone decided to attack us. Then why reveal it now? Zekthor asked. Why not keep it hidden as you have done for years? Because, Lisa answered. We are tired of being treated as inferior. We are tired of being dismissed and mocked. We wanted the Council to understand that humanity deserves respect, not because we are the strongest or the most advanced, but because we have earned the right to stand as equals among the stars. Greg watched the exchange from his bridge and felt pride swell in his chest. This crew, this ship, represented the best of what humanity could achieve. They had worked in secret for years, sacrificing time with families and friends. They had solved problems that seemed impossible. They had built something that the galaxy said could not be built. Chief Engineer Amy Peterson emerged from the lower decks and approached the Admiral's platform. She was a short woman with blonde hair and grease stains on her uniform that never seemed to wash out completely. Admiral, I am getting requests from at least 20 different species asking for detailed information about our reactor design. What should I tell them? Tell them we will be happy to discuss technology sharing once Earth is recognized as a full member of the Galactic Council. Greg said with a slight smile. With all the rights and privileges that status entails, the message was clear. Humanity had cards to play now. They had leverage. The galaxy wanted what Earth had built, and Earth was willing to share, but only on equal terms. The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened exactly 2 hours after the Titan's appearance. Every species representative was present, including several who had sent their delegates via holographic projection from distant worlds. The atmosphere in the chamber had changed completely. Where before there had been dismissal and mockery, now there was intense curiosity mixed with wariness. The human delegation platform had been moved from its position at the back of the chamber to a location closer to the center. It was a small gesture, but one that spoke volumes about how quickly things had shifted. Lisa Hayes stood at the edge of the platform, aware that every eye in the chamber was watching her. She had prepared for this moment for months, rehearsing what she would say. But now that the time had come, she decided to speak from her heart rather than from a script. The Council has asked how humanity built the Titan in secret. The answer is both simple and complex. We learned from our own history. Humanity has never been the strongest species on our planet. We were not the fastest runners or the best climbers. We did not have claws or fangs or natural armor. What we had was our minds and our ability to work together. We survived, not by being superior, but by being adaptable. She activated a holographic display that showed Earth's solar system. The image zoomed in to show the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Hidden within a hollowed-out dwarf planet was the construction facility where the Titan had been built. When the Council first made contact with Earth, we were excited. We believed we had found friends among the stars. But as time passed, we realized something important. The galaxy is not a friendly place for the weak. Species are judged not by their potential, but by their current capabilities. We were dismissed because our ships were small and our technology seemed primitive. So we made a decision. We would continue to appear weak while we built strength in secret. Jake Morrison took over the explanation. For 15 years, Earth pooled its resources into this project. We told the Council observers that we were mining asteroids for raw materials, which was true. We told them we were conducting scientific research in the outer system, which was also true. What we did not tell them was that we were building the most advanced vessel humanity had ever conceived. The holographic display changed to show the construction process. Massive machines carved out the interior of the dwarf planet. Construction facilities were assembled in the darkness. Supply ships made the journey from Earth carrying equipment and personnel. All of it was hidden behind natural cosmic radiation and carefully placed sensor jammers. Nexus, 7 of the Vrin Collective, studied the data with his enhanced processing capabilities. The level of coordination required for a project of this scope is remarkable. You maintained complete security for 15 years. Not a single leak of information. Not one hint that reached Council intelligence networks. How did you accomplish this? Jake smiled slightly. Every person who worked on the Titan knew what was at stake. We selected crew members and construction workers carefully. We looked for people who understood the importance of the mission. Every human involved knew that our species' future depended on success. That kind of motivation is powerful. But the technical challenges. Vral spoke up, his mandibles clicking in agitation. The power requirements alone should have been insurmountable. Our own engineers have been trying to design vessels of this size for generations. The reactor technology needed does not exist. It did not exist. Amy Peterson's voice came through the communication channel from the Titan. I am Chief Engineer, Amy Peterson. I led the team that designed the Titan's power systems. We approached the problem differently than you would have. Your species builds reactors based on principles established millions of years ago. You refine existing technology, but rarely innovate truly new approaches. Humanity did not have that limitation. The display changed again to show simplified diagrams of the reactor design. Nothing detailed enough to actually build one, but enough to prove the technology was real. We combined fusion technology with quantum field manipulation. Amy continued. The result is a reactor that produces exponentially more power than conventional designs, while being safer and more stable. Yes, it is less efficient in some ways. Yes, it has redundancies that your engineers would consider wasteful. But it works, and it works reliably. High Arbiter Zekthor's crystalline form pulsed with different colors as he processed the information. You have made your point, humanity. You are more capable than we believed. But capability alone does not grant Council membership. We must also consider intentions. Why should we believe the Titan is truly defensive? A weapon is a weapon, regardless of what you call it. Lisa had expected this question, because we are still here talking rather than making demands. If humanity wanted to use the Titan as a weapon of conquest, we would not have revealed it during a council session. We would have struck without warning. The fact that we chose to demonstrate our capabilities in a peaceful setting should tell you everything you need to know about our intentions. Admiral Greg Nash spoke from the Titan's bridge, his image appearing on the displays throughout the chamber. I have served in Earth's military for 40 years. I have seen war. I have lost friends in combat. I have given orders that sent people to their deaths. I built the Titan for one reason: to ensure that humanity would never be helpless again. In our history, the weak were conquered by the strong. Those who could not defend themselves were destroyed or enslaved. We refuse to be weak. Captain Ellen Rivers added her voice to the admirals. The Titan carries weapons, yes. But it also carries scientific laboratories, medical facilities, and diplomatic meeting rooms. It is designed to be a mobile base that can respond to any situation. Defense, rescue, exploration. We built it to be versatile, because we did not know what challenges we would face in the galaxy. The council chamber buzzed with conversation as species representatives debated among themselves. Some were convinced by humanity's arguments. Others remained suspicious. A few were already calculating how they could benefit from access to human technology. Zekthor called for silence, and the chamber obeyed. The council will take time to deliberate on this new information. However, I propose we put a question to an immediate vote. Should humanity's petition for full membership be reconsidered in light of these revelations? The vote was called. One by one, species representatives indicated their positions. Some voted yes immediately. Others hesitated before adding their support. A few voted no, but they were a small minority. When the count was finished, the result was clear. The petition would be reconsidered. Jake felt tension he had been carrying for hours finally begin to ease. This was not a guarantee of membership, but it was progress. Real, meaningful progress. Lieutenant Ben Cooper's voice came through Jake's private communication device. Commander, you should know that we are detecting increased communication traffic between Council military vessels. They are sharing sensor data about the Titan. Some of it is standard intelligence gathering, but some of it looks like they are trying to determine our capabilities in case of conflict. Jake was not surprised. That is to be expected, Lieutenant. Make sure Admiral Nash knows, but do not change our posture. We are here peacefully, and we will remain peaceful unless forced to do otherwise. On the Titan, Greg received the report and nodded. He had expected this. The galaxy was full of species that had learned to be cautious. Showing strength was necessary. But it would also make some groups nervous. The key was to demonstrate that strength without appearing aggressive. Maintain current position. Greg ordered. All weapons remain powered down but ready. I want our point defense systems active, but not targeting anything. If anyone approaches with hostile intent, we will know long before they get close enough to be a threat. Ellen worked at her console, coordinating with department heads throughout the ship. Engineering reports all systems stable. Life support is operating normally. The crew is adjusting well to the attention we are receiving. Morale is high. Ben called out new information as it appeared on his screens. Admiral, the Kryn fleet is repositioning. Not aggressive, but they are definitely getting into a formation that would allow rapid response if needed. Smart of them, Greg observed. They are treating us as a potential threat while hoping we remain a potential ally. That is exactly what we would do in their position. Amy Peterson climbed back up to the bridge after spending time in the reactor room. She approached the Admiral with a slight smile on her face. You should see the messages I am getting from alien engineers. They are practically begging for information about our systems. Some of them are offering personal fortunes for just a glimpse at our reactor specifications. Tell them the price is higher than money, Greg replied. The price is respect and recognition. Once Earth is a full member of this council, we will happily share knowledge with those who have earned our trust. The message was spreading throughout the galaxy now. Humanity had revealed its hidden strength. The species that had been dismissed as primitive had built something that shocked even the most advanced civilizations. The question now was what would happen next. Would the Council accept Earth as an equal, or would this demonstration of power create new enemies? Jake looked at Lisa and saw determination in her eyes that matched his own. Whatever happened next, humanity had made its statement. They were no longer content to be underestimated. The age of humanity being the weak newcomer was over. 3 days passed after the Titan's dramatic appearance. The Galactic Council had been in almost constant session, debating humanity's petition for full membership. Various committees had been formed to study the data about human technology. Diplomatic channels buzzed with activity as species representatives consulted with their home governments. The Titan remained in its position near Meridian Prime, a silent reminder of humanity's capabilities. Admiral Greg Nash had ordered the crew to maintain normal operations while staying alert. He knew that the galaxy was watching and judging everything they did. On the morning of the 4th day, everything changed. The alarm klaxons in the council chamber began wailing, cutting through the diplomatic discussions like a knife. High Arbiter Zekthor's crystalline form flashed red as emergency communications poured in. Species representatives looked around in confusion and growing alarm as their personal devices all began receiving the same distress signal. Vral of the Kryn Collective was the first to react. His massive insectoid body tensed as he listened to the transmission. His voice, usually controlled, now carried panic. My people are under attack. The mining colony on Meridian 7. The Ravagers have come in force. Our defense platforms are failing. The Ravagers were known throughout this sector of space as a pirate coalition that preyed on isolated settlements. They were a loose alliance of criminals and outcasts from dozens of species. They had no homeworld and no government, existing only to take what they wanted by force. The Galactic Council had been trying to eliminate them for years, but the Ravagers were like smoke. Whenever the Council fleet moved to engage them, they scattered and disappeared into the depths of space. "How many ships?" Zekthor demanded. "What are their numbers?" "At least 40 vessels detected," Vral replied, his mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. 3 heavy cruisers, and the rest are smaller attack craft. Our colony defense forces are overwhelmed. The planetary shields will fail within the hour. 30,000 Kryn citizens are on that colony. The military coordinator, a 4-armed Tethran named Kos, was already working at his console. The nearest council fleet is 6 hours away at maximum speed. We cannot reach the colony in time. "I am sorry, Vral. Your people are lost." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Everyone understood what this meant. 30,000 people would die while the council watched helplessly. It was the harsh reality of space. Sometimes help was simply too far away. Jake Morrison made his decision in less than 3 seconds. He activated his communication device. "Admiral Nash, did you copy that transmission?" Greg's voice came back immediately, calm despite the emergency. "We copied it, Commander. The Titan can reach Meridian 7 in 42 minutes if we push the engines. Requesting authorization to render assistance." All eyes in the council chamber turned to the human platform. Lisa Hayes looked at Jake, saw the determination in his eyes, and nodded once. They both knew this could go badly wrong. The Titan had not been tested in real combat. They were risking their only capital ship for people who had mocked them days earlier. But they also knew it was the right thing to do. "You have authorization, Admiral," Jake said clearly. "Full combat protocols. Save those people." Zeke Thor's crystalline form shifted through several colors rapidly. "Commander Morrison, you cannot be serious. The Ravagers are extremely dangerous. You would risk your only vessel? Your entire crew? For a species that has shown you nothing but contempt?" Jake looked directly at the High Arbiter. "You asked us what humanity's intentions were. You questioned whether we were worthy of council membership. This is your answer. We do not calculate the worth of lives based on how they have treated us. We act because it is the right thing to do." Vral approached the human platform, his large body moving with surprising speed. "If you save my people, Commander Morrison, the Kryn will forever be in humanity's debt. I swear this on my honor and the honor of my entire species." "Let us save them first," Jake replied. "Then we can talk about debts." On the Titan's bridge, Admiral Gregg was already issuing orders. "Captain Rivers, take us to battle stations. All hands prepare for combat. Navigation. Plot the fastest course to Meridian 7. I do not care if it strains the engines. We need to be there now." Ellen's fingers flew across her console as alarms began sounding throughout the massive vessel. "Battle stations. All hands to battle stations. This is not a drill. Engineering. I need maximum power to engines. Weapons. Start bringing all systems online. Fighter wings. Prepare for immediate launch upon arrival." Ben Cooper pulled up tactical data on the Ravagers, information that had been collected over years of Council intelligence gathering. "Admiral, intelligence reports indicate Ravagers typically use hit-and-run tactics. Their ships are fast but lightly armored. They rely on overwhelming numbers rather than individual ship strength. Then we take out the heavy cruisers first," Greg decided. "Without their capital ships, the smaller craft will likely break and run. Prepare firing solutions for all railguns. I want to start shooting the moment we drop out of fold space." Amy Peterson's voice came from engineering. "Admiral, I can give you the speed you want, but it will stress the engines beyond recommended limits. We might have reduced capability after this jump. Do it anyway, Chief, Greg ordered. Those colonists do not have time for us to worry about recommended limits. The Titan's engines flared with power that made nearby sensor stations scream warnings. The massive vessel accelerated faster than any ship its size should have been able to move. Space around it began to distort as the fold drive activated. Then, in a flash of light, the Titan vanished from its position near Meridian Prime. 41 minutes later, the Supercarrier emerged from fold space directly above Meridian 7. The scene that greeted them was chaos. The mining colony on the planet's surface was under heavy bombardment. Dozens of Ravager ships swarmed like insects around the failing defense platforms. Explosions lit up the atmosphere as the colony's shields flickered and died. Target acquisition complete. Ben called out. I have firing solutions on all 3 Ravager heavy cruisers. The flagship is designated Target Alpha. Launch all fighters. Greg commanded. Captain Rivers, coordinate the fighter wings. I want them protecting the colony and hitting those smaller attack craft. Tactical. You may fire when ready. The Titan's hangar bays opened along its flanks like a beast opening its jaws. 300 human fighters poured out into space, each one sleek and deadly. They were smaller than traditional galactic fighters, but what they lacked in size, they made up for in speed and maneuverability. Each fighter carried a pilot who had trained their entire adult life for combat. These were not amateurs. These were the best Earth had to offer. Lieutenant Sam Blake led the first fighter wing, his voice coming over the communication channels. Alpha Wing, form up on me. Beta and Gamma Wings, take the flanks. Delta Wing, stay close to the colony and intercept any bombers. Epsilon Wing, you are our reserve. All units, weapons free. Show these pirates what human pilots can do. The fighters streaked into battle with a precision that surprised the Ravagers. Human combat doctrine emphasized coordination and mutual support. No pilot fought alone. They moved in pairs and groups, covering each other and setting up deadly crossfires. Within seconds, the first Ravager ships began to explode. On the Titan, Ben locked the firing solution for the railguns. Target Alpha locked. Firing. The Titan's main railgun was a weapon of devastating simplicity. It used electromagnetic force to accelerate a solid projectile to incredible speeds. The tungsten carbide slug weighed half a ton and was moving at a significant fraction of light speed when it left the barrel. The energy release when it fired was like a small sun being born and dying in an instant. The projectile crossed the distance to the Ravager flagship in less than a second. It punched through the ship's shields as if they did not exist. It tore through the hull like paper. It penetrated deep into the vessel's core and struck the reactor. The resulting explosion was visible from the planet's surface. A brief new star in the sky. Reload time 30 seconds, Ben reported. Target Beta locked. Fire at will, Greg ordered calmly. Keep shooting until there are no more targets. The battle became a turkey shoot. The Ravagers had expected to face light colony defenses and had not prepared for a vessel like the Titan. Their heavy cruisers, which had seemed so powerful against the colony's platforms, were destroyed one by one. Their smaller attack craft tried to swarm the human fighters, but found themselves outmatched. The human pilots were simply better trained and better coordinated. Sam Blake's fighter twisted through space, avoiding incoming fire with practiced ease. His targeting computer locked onto a Ravager bomber that was diving toward the colony. Fox 2, he called out, using ancient human fighter pilot terminology. The missile leaped from his fighter and tracked the bomber perfectly, destroying it before it could release its payload. All around the battle space, similar scenes played out. Human fighters danced through enemy formations, their weapons striking with lethal accuracy. The Titan's defensive systems tracked thousands of incoming projectiles and destroyed them with point defense lasers. The Ravagers, who had seemed so fearsome moments ago, were being systematically eliminated. 18 minutes after the battle began, It was over. The remaining Ravager ships broke formation and fled into deep space. They left behind the wreckage of more than 30 vessels and hundreds of dead pirates. Not a single human fighter had been lost. The Titan had taken minimal damage, nothing more than scratches on its armor. "Colony is secure, Admiral," Ellen reported. "Defense platforms are damaged, but the colonists are safe. Casualty reports are coming in from the surface. It looks like they lost some people before we arrived, but the majority survived." Greg allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. "Well done, everyone. Maintain alert status until we are certain the Ravagers are not coming back. Captain Rivers, coordinate with colony authorities. Offer any assistance they need. Medical supplies, engineers, whatever they require." On the planet's surface, 30,000 Kryn colonists looked up at the sky where the Titan hung like a guardian angel. They had been minutes from death, and humanity had saved them. Word of what had happened began spreading throughout the galaxy at the speed of light. The species that had been dismissed as primitive had just demonstrated military capability that rivaled the best the Council could field. In the Council chamber, Vral stood silent. His earlier arrogance was completely gone, replaced by genuine gratitude and respect. He looked at Jake Morrison and slowly lowered himself in the traditional Kryn gesture of deep respect. "The human race has saved 30,000 of my people. This debt can never be fully repaid, but the Kryn will spend generations trying." The Galactic Council reconvened 6 hours after the battle at Meridian 7. The atmosphere in the chamber was completely different from any previous session. Where before there had been dismissal, then surprise, now there was genuine respect mixed with careful consideration. The human delegation platform had been moved again, this time to a position among the senior member species. It was a symbolic change. But symbols mattered in galactic politics. Jake Morrison and Lisa Hayes stood on their platform, aware that everything they had worked for was about to be decided. The Titan floated in orbit above Meridian 7, its crew helping with rescue and recovery operations on the colony. Reports from the surface told of human medical teams working alongside Kryn doctors to treat the wounded. Human engineers were helping repair damaged infrastructure. It was a powerful demonstration that the Titan was not just a weapon, but a tool for peace. High Arbiter Zekthor called the session to order with a gesture that caused silence to fall across the chamber. "The members of this council have witnessed something remarkable over the past 4 days. Humanity has demonstrated technological capability we did not know existed. They have shown military prowess that rivals our finest fleets. Most importantly, they have proven their character by risking their only capital ship to save people who had mocked them. This council must now make a decision that will shape the future of galactic politics." Vral of the Kryn Collective stood to address the assembly. His voice carried a weight it had not held before. "I speak now, not as a skeptic, but as one whose people owe their lives to humanity. I was wrong about Earth. We all were wrong. We judged them by appearances and our own prejudices. We saw their small ships and assumed they were primitive. We heard their young history and assumed they were naive. We were fools. The Kryn Collective votes in favor of full membership for Earth, with no restrictions or probationary periods." One by one, other species representatives stood to give their positions. The Vryn Collective spoke next, through Nexus 7. "Our analysis of human technology indicates innovation beyond what we believed possible from such a young species. Their approach to engineering challenges is unconventional but effective." The Vryn vote in favor of membership. More voices joined the chorus of support. Some species gave pragmatic reasons, noting that having humanity as an ally would be beneficial. Others spoke of being impressed by Earth's willingness to help others. A few were clearly motivated by a desire to access human technology. But regardless of their reasons, the votes kept coming in favor of membership. Not every voice was supportive. A representative from the Tarn Federation, a species known for their conservative approach to council expansion, raised objections. "How can we trust a species that kept such a massive military project secret for 15 years? What else might they be hiding? Today, they save lives. But tomorrow, they might use that power for conquest. Lisa Hayes addressed the objection directly. The Tarn make a valid point. Trust is earned through actions over time, not granted in a single moment. We kept the Titan project secret because we were not certain of our welcome in galactic society. We had been observed and judged for years before we were even allowed to speak to this council. We chose caution over openness because we were protecting our people. Now that we have demonstrated our capabilities and our intentions, we hope to be more open. But we will not apologize for taking steps to ensure our survival. Jake added his thoughts. Every species in this chamber has secrets. Every government keeps some things hidden for security reasons. Humanity is no different. The question is not whether we kept secrets, but what we did when we revealed the truth. We could have used the Titan to make demands or threaten others. Instead, we used it to save lives. That should tell you what kind of species we are. Admiral Greg Nash transmitted from the Titan, his image appearing on displays throughout the chamber. I understand the concerns about trust. In the military, we have a saying, trust is built in drops and lost in buckets. We cannot force you to trust humanity. All we can do is continue to act in ways that earn that trust over time. The Titan will remain in this system for another week, assisting with colony repairs and providing security against any Ravager return. We do this not because we expect payment or recognition, but because it is what members of a community do for each other. Zeke Thor's crystalline form pulsed with colors that indicated deep thought. The Council had not made such an important decision in many years. Admitting a new species as a full member changed the balance of power and politics in ways that would ripple through the galaxy for generations. But sometimes, change was necessary and good. Let us vote, Zekthor announced. The question before this council is simple. Should Earth be granted full membership status, with all rights, responsibilities, and privileges that entails? Each species will cast their vote now. The voting process took 30 minutes, as each species consulted internally and made their decision. Jake watched the tally appear on the displays, his heart beating faster as the numbers climbed. Lisa stood beside him, her expression carefully neutral. But he could see tension in the way she held herself. The final count appeared on the screens. 873 species voted in favor. 112 voted against. 15 abstained. It was not unanimous, but it was an overwhelming majority. The petition is approved, Zekthor announced, his voice carrying throughout the chamber and broadcasting to every corner of the galaxy. Earth is hereby recognized as a full member of the Galactic Council with all rights and privileges. Welcome, humanity, to the community of galactic civilizations. The chamber erupted in various forms of applause and acknowledgement. Some species made sounds, others flashed lights, and a few simply radiated approval through telepathic channels. Jake felt something release in his chest. A tension he had been carrying for so long he had forgotten it was there. Lisa turned to him with tears in her eyes, and they embraced briefly before composing themselves. On the Titan, the crew received the news with cheers that echoed through every deck. Admiral Greg allowed himself a rare smile as he watched his people celebrate. Captain Ellen Rivers raised her hand for quiet after a minute. All right, everyone. We still have a job to do. The colony needs our help, and we are going to provide it. But take a moment to be proud. You all earned this. Ben Cooper approached the Admiral with a datapad. Sir, I am receiving messages from dozens of species requesting meetings to discuss technology sharing, defense pacts, and trade agreements. It seems everyone wants to be humanity's friend now. Set up the meetings, Greg ordered. But make it clear that we will not be rushed into any agreements. We have time now. We are full members of the Council. We can afford to be deliberate and careful in choosing our partners. Amy Peterson climbed up from engineering, her perpetual grease stains somehow even more prominent than usual. Admiral, I have been thinking about the technology sharing requests. We should be strategic about what we share and when. The reactor technology, for example, could revolutionize power generation across the galaxy. But if we share it too quickly, we lose leverage. Agreed, Chief. Greg nodded. We will share, but we will do it in a way that benefits Earth and our allies. That is not greed. That is good strategy. Back in the council chamber, Jake and Lisa were surrounded by well-wishers and species representatives who wanted to establish good relations. Vral approached them directly, his massive form somehow conveying humility. Commander Morrison, Ambassador Hayes, the Kryn Collective would like to propose a formal alliance between our species. We offer access to our mining technology and resource networks in exchange for a defensive pact and technology sharing agreement. Lisa glanced at Jake before responding. We would be very interested in discussing such an arrangement, Vral. Let us set up formal negotiations. But I think we can already say that the Kryn will be among Earth's closest allies going forward. Nexus 7 of the Vryn Collective made his way through the crowd. The Vryn are also interested in deeper cooperation with humanity. Your approach to engineering problems fascinates our scientists. We propose a joint research initiative that would benefit both our species. We would welcome that, Jake replied. Humanity has much to learn from the galaxy. And perhaps we have some things to teach as well. The celebration continued for hours. Messages began arriving from Earth, where the news had sparked joy and relief. Humanity had achieved what many thought impossible. They had gone from dismissed newcomers to respected members of the galactic community in less than a week. But Jake and Lisa both knew this was just the beginning. Full membership brought not just rights, but responsibilities. Earth would be expected to contribute to council operations, to send ships on peacekeeping missions, to participate in the complex politics of galactic civilization. The Titan had opened a door, but walking through it would require dedication and wisdom. Lieutenant Sam Blake and his fighter wing returned to the Titan after completing patrol duties around Meridian 7. As his fighter settled into the hangar bay, he looked around at his fellow pilots. They had fought together, bled together, and proven themselves against a real enemy. They were no longer just trainees or theoretical warriors. They were veterans now, and that meant something. On the planet's surface, human medical teams continued their work. Dr. Chris Palmer had been treating wounded Kryn colonists for 8 hours straight. He was exhausted, but could not stop. There were still people who needed help. A young Kryn child, barely old enough to walk, approached him shyly. The child held out a small crystal, a traditional Kryn gift of thanks. Chris accepted it with a tired smile. This is why we are here, he thought. This is what the Titan was built for. Admiral Gregg stood on the observation deck of the Titan, looking out at the stars. Captain Ellen Rivers joined him, carrying 2 cups of coffee from the officers' mess. Think they will ever stop underestimating us? Ellen asked with a slight smile. Gregg took the offered coffee and considered the question. Probably not completely. There will always be someone who thinks humanity is too young, or too aggressive, or too different. But after today, nobody will make the mistake of thinking we are weak. Nobody will assume we are unwilling to fight when necessary. That is a kind of respect, even if it comes with wariness. What about the other supercarriers? Ellen asked quietly. When do we tell the council about them? Gregg smiled slightly. We do not. Not yet anyway. Let them think the Titan is unique for a while longer. By the time the Goliath, Leviathan, and Behemoth are completed, we will have had time to establish ourselves. Right now, 1 supercarrier is impressive. 4 would be threatening. We will reveal them when the time is right. In the hidden construction facilities in the asteroid belt, work continued on the 3 sister ships to the Titan. Thousands of engineers and workers labored in secret, building Earth's future fleet. They had heard the news about the council vote and worked with renewed energy. They were building more than ships. They were building security for humanity's future among the stars. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Underestimating humanity was a mistake. Earth had revealed its hidden strength and shocked the universe. But the real shock was yet to come. What the Titan represented was not the peak of human achievement but merely the beginning. Humanity was just starting to show what they could do when properly motivated. The age of exploration was over. The age of expansion had begun. And the galaxy would never be the same.